Don't like that.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
心が進化するよもっともっと
What I want to talk about is the utter and absolute hypocrisy that is this entire wet markets debacle. Quick definition for the absolute boomer plebs who don't know what a wet market is. The call to ban all wet markets, right? But before we get into that, I would just like to applaud people. For finally having the balls to be openly racist instead of closeted racists. Now, before you label me a libtard and click off the video, I'm gonna explain a little bit here. But before I do that, I would like to read a tweet. And this is just one of thousands and thousands and thousands of tweets if you were just to type in wet markets into Twitter. Okay, so it turns out I lied. I'm going to read multiple tweets. I've got about 3, and now keep in mind all the things that I say about these tweets are under the assumption that these are completely genuine and not trolling whatsoever. All the comments that I make about these tweets are going to be made under the assumption that these people are not trolling. This is disgusting. There should be a rule of thumb, never have a wet market. Chinese people are just too ignorant to understand that. Chinese government doesn't care when their people are sick or when their people die. As far as Chinese government is concerned, they're not. This is sick, shocking, and disgusting. Poor innocent cats and dogs being slaughtered in the Chinese wet markets. Wet markets? How sick can these Chinese people be? This is beyond disgusting how these Chinese people live. Beyond disgusting. Wow. What blows my mind is that on all sides of the political spectrum, people want the wet markets to be shut down. And on all sides of those who want the wet markets to be shut down, there is complete and utter hypocrisy. The people on the more liberal side are saying, oh my goodness, we need to shut down all these wet markets, all of the animal cruelty. This is a disgusting cultural practice. Meanwhile, months before, they were the exact ones saying, hey, their culture is not your prom dress. There is hidden racism towards Asians in America. These are the words of the people who are now calling for the ban of one of the most integral parts of any culture, which is its food, right? So much of a given culture is wrapped up in not only, its terrain, kind of the environment that that culture was started in, but also its food. Respect every culture unless they're Chinese. Then we're not going to respect their culture. We're going to call because it's cruel and inhumane, killing all these animals. Yeah, that culture that we were wanting to respect and promote. Nah, fam. These people who are championing the cultural cause of minorities, who are calling for there to be love and, just respecting each other's cultures. How dare you copy them? And these are the people saying, no, we need to get rid of that entire portion of their culture. And the exact same thing is happening on the conservative side of the spectrum. The exact people that shout freedom and I can do what I want the loudest are the exact people now lambasting the Chinese for doing what they have wanted to, an integral part of their culture for thousands of years. Freedom! You can do what you want unless you're Chinese. They can't practice the cultural tradition of eating whatever food they want for the past thousands of years. Yeah, freedom, but not for them. Yeah, I want but not those guys. Because you can't have your food. I'm sorry. Just bro, the hypocrisy is immense. And now for those who are going to attempt to argue that somehow other cultural things are okay, but the wet market is an imminent danger to the globe as a whole. This has been happening for however many hundreds of years previous to this without any outbreaks on this scale. Now you may say, oh, now we're entering a new technological period where travel is increasing and therefore this type of cultural tradition has no place in our society. But I would like to say that China, since the 80s, 90s, has been open to the world for travel and has been in a paradigm where there is international travel and has been continuing in its cultural traditions, and no outbreak like this has happened thus far. I think it's incredibly foolish to think that just because something happens once, it will happen again. Just like supposedly the definition of stupidity is to try something over and over and over again, expecting different results when you always get the same result back. I think it's equally stupid to try something for a long time, get consistent results, have one outlier, and then suddenly say, okay, we need to shut all this down. So what the message is here is you can do what you want unless your culture does not line up with my culture. Because I, of course, and this is sarcasm here, being American, my culture is superior to yours in every way. Therefore, I can judge what is an appropriate aspect of a culture and what is an inappropriate aspect of a given culture. Because my culture is the best. And I know what's okay and what's crossing the line. I know what is a precious tradition versus a hedonistic, backwards way of life. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but the vibe I'm getting is kimono good, sushi bad. Okay? And hang on with me. We can keep going. We can keep going down this rabbit hole. Fireworks good, bats bad. That's what I'm getting here. Okay, let me try a little bit more. Great Wall of China good. Meow Meow Chicken bad. That's Meow Meow Chicken is cat, if you hadn't picked up on that. If you can go out and say, oh, this is disgusting, you don't need to be eating bats, oh, that's ridiculous. What kind of culture would do that? Maybe you're not allowed to eat beef. Just imagine with me if we were told that now no Americans are allowed to eat beef because Indians, Hindus do not eat beef. What if no Americans are now allowed to eat pork? Because Muslims do not eat pork. This is the equivalent of saying that Americans are no longer allowed to use the drive-thru because it's a danger to society. One of the most integral parts of American culture is limiting your contact with other individuals. I'm American, therefore I want to have as little face-to-face interaction with you as possible. We created an entire system of getting your food so you don't have to get out of your car and talk to people. That's America. That's American culture. And now that's if like somewhere in Afghanistan was to say, hey, whoa, what are you guys doing? Which frankly, I'd probably agree with them, but I'm not going to enforce that, obviously. You know, I'm not saying we should get rid of drive-thru. I don't think it's necessarily a positive aspect of the culture that we try to, avoid human interaction, social interaction at all costs. Obviously, that's a little bit tainted now due to the social aspect of being in quarantine, blah, 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 blah. But the absolute balls, the absolute gall that you think that you are in a place to say what aspects of a given culture are appropriate and what are not. That is true racism, thinking that your culture is so superior that you're able to point to another person's culture and be like, yeah, that aspect is appropriate. You guys can do that. That's a cool little fun tradition. But that one, you can't do that one. It blows my mind. And it makes me so, and I don't know why it makes me so angry. Maybe it's because I've lived most of my life in Turkey. And it has a lot of cultural traditions that maybe Americans wouldn't agree with. That maybe they would find, backward or inhumane, but it's part of their culture, and you are in no place to say what another culture can or can't do. I mean, obviously you can, right? But if you do it, don't pretend like you somehow have the moral high ground in doing it. And again, I don't know why I'm preaching to people who I'm sure, already feel the same way that I do or whatever anyway, but whatever.